Yo, what's going on guys? Arekkz here, welcome back to another Monster Hunter World video. I am back with more Gamescom coverage and I promise we'll be back talking about some of the remaining weapons very soon, but I want to take a momentary detour to talk about something else, the mantles.
You can use jump attack. Look out for help.
Mantles are of course a new item introduced in Monster Hunter World, and they're essentially these hooded cloaks that you throw over yourself in battle, and they provide you with a number of different bonuses. So far from the gameplay we've seen prior to Gamescom, we know of 3 that currently exist. However, during my time going hands-on, I got a chance to check out a new, never before seen 4th mantle, and it's really, really awesome.
Yeah, you've mounted the monster. Now's your chance to topple it.
With that being said, I thought I'd put together a quick video to show you what each of the 4 mantles can do in a little more detail, since anytime we've seen them up until now, it's usually been in passing in a live stream, which generally speaking is lower quality, downgraded and whatnot, so yeah, this is a chance to see them in more detail. If you do enjoy this, you do find it helpful, then a like would be super appreciated, and be sure to comment down below, let me know what you guys think, and also let me know which one is your favourite. Now, to begin with, when you head to the base camp to select your gear, there are a few slots for you to fill. You of course have your weapon slots, the slots for all your armour you want, a slot for your charm, and below you have 2 equipment slots. It's in these slots that you can equip your mantles. You can take 2 different ones with you into the field, and just like gear and weapons, these can also be swapped out on the fly if you make a return trip to the camp. There is also another item here that's not a mantle, it's a health booster. You essentially throw it down on the ground and it provides AoE healing for a short period of time. It's a pretty cool team focused item, but it's not a mantle, so I won't focus on it for too long. Once you've chosen the mantles that you want, you'll notice they're shown up here in the top left of the UI. When you equip one, the icon begins to deplete, like a little meter, and once it runs out, you'll be forced to remove it until it regenerates. Alternatively, if something happens to forcibly remove it, like getting attacked in some situations, then the same thing will happen. They can be mapped to your quick select radial menu, and you can then throw them on when you're roaming around or in the heat of battle. But what exactly do we have to play with here? Well, let's start with a new one, and to be honest, it's also my absolute favourite. This right here is the Glider Mantle. As the name suggests, you can use it to glide. The official item description reads, increase jump airtime and grant the power to ride strong winds. Also, make it easier to mount monsters. But essentially the way it works is that you leap off a ledge, big or small, and instead of falling, you glide. Of course, if you do this off a bigger ledge, you can glide for a considerable distance. You can glide off or onto vines, you can glide onto climbable walls, and you can even glide and perform an airborne attack, in turn going directly into a mount if the monster is at the appropriate threshold. And since it also makes it easier to mount monsters, then, you know, it's kind of a win-win situation. I can actually see this getting a lot of use, especially given how vertical the Ancient Forest is, and I imagine other maps will be similar too. In the forest, there are 3 different levels of elevation according to the map, and there are some pretty high areas, so you can actually get good use out of this if you do a fair bit of exploration. But also, getting that aerial advantage over the monsters is going to be pretty handy. Not to mention that it also looks pretty cool, like some kind of blue and white flying squirrel. Interestingly, the actual description, kind of going back to it, it mentions that you can use strong winds to boost you up. Now, there aren't any in the Ancient Forest, so I can only assume that these will be things present in other maps. The way this actually plays, it reminds me a lot of the glider from Zelda Breath of the Wild, both in the way it controls and works. So if it actually plays like that, then I imagine it would be a similar sort of thing where you fly over, say, like an air vent, and then it kind of launched you higher into the air, so that could be a pretty good way to, say, traverse the map if you don't want to do it via conventional means, like, you know, climbing walls, climbing vines, all that stuff like that. Either way, very cool mantle. In truth, not something I thought we'd be seeing in Monster Hunter, so that is a bonus. Anyway, next up we have the Rocksteady Mantle, and might end up being a favourite for some of the lighter players out there who tend to get tripped up by both monsters and their teammates. I'm thinking specifically, say, Sword and Shield or Lance users. If you have a longsword user in your team, you might want to consider bringing this with you just to make sure you don't get tripped. The official description for this one reads, eliminates damage reactions, prevents wind effects, protects your hearing, and grants tremor resistance. You also receive less damage from attacks. So that's like a Rocksteady wind resist earplugs combo. It's actually pretty potent. Do of course bear in mind you can't wear these indefinitely, so it's certainly not something you can rely on 24/7, but it is still incredibly useful. You can see in this situation I'm purposefully getting stuck into combat, getting hit by moves that would normally trip me up or interrupt me. but I'm instead able to firm them and continue about my business. You'll see that as the meter depletes, so too does the effect on the mantle. As this black and white checkerboard pattern begins to appear, it's an indicator that it's running low, so you definitely want to pay attention to this so you don't get caught off guard. This will also be pretty handy if you have, say, a bigger, more powerful weapon with, say, a charge attack. Let's say you're trying to pull off that new triple charge combo for the greatsword. It's quite common for the monsters to turn on you before you complete the whole thing, given how long it takes. So having this might just be the difference between getting tripped and finishing that attack. Of course, following on from there, we then have the Ghillie Mantle. This is the first one we ever saw, and quite simply, it's used to hide you from the monster. The official description for this one reads, conceals you from enemy view temporarily. The effect expires if you perform an attack or take damage. So unlike the Glider or Rocksteady Mantles, with this one you need to avoid being hit, otherwise the effect will instantly be removed and your mantle will be forced into cooldown. That being said, it's not that difficult to avoid. I mean, if you're hidden from the monster, it won't be chasing you so aggressively. In this case, you can see that I'm fighting the Rathalos, but if I want to hide to let things cool off for a bit, then I can throw it on. The purple line around the minimap indicates that it's lost sight of me, and I can then heal up, set a trap, or get into a better position, whatever it is I want to do. In this case, I can launch a jump attack on the unsuspecting beast, and then at that point the mantle is then forced into cooldown since I've engaged in combat.
Okay, it's down.
Then finally, the last one is the Challenger Mantle. This is the one you use if you want the monster to follow you. The description for this one reads, prompts monsters to target you more often, and makes them easier to lure. The effect expires if you are attacked. So again, much like the Ghillie Mantle, it's only good until you get hit. And since this one is all about getting the monster to chase you, you'll need to be on your toes. That being said, this is going to be especially useful for leading it to a trap. In previous Monster Hunter games, if you were ever on a capture quest and the monster decided to leave the area, it somewhat ruined your plans. However, now, assuming for a moment that we do still have capture quests, which I'm pretty sure we will do, if that happens, you could actively put the Challenger Mantle on, get the monster riled up, and have it chase you directly into the trap, which is super handy. Now at this stage, we don't know how mantles actually factor into the game. I don't know whether we craft them like weapons or gear, whether we earn them from quests, or whether they're given to us at some point just during the game. What I really want to know though is how many there are. I mean, there are so many cool possibilities for these things that they could do, so I'm super excited to see if there are more of them. What if, say, the mantles were able to protect you from, say, hot or cold weather, so you didn't have to bring, say, hot or cold drinks, or, say, temporary damage boost mantles, where you equip it when you're about to do, say, a big level 3 greatsword charge, and then you get an extra bit of damage before it's then forced on cooldown. There are some pretty cool possibilities, so I'm excited to find out more. In fact, if you guys have got any ideas for cool mantles, let me know what you guys think down below. But that is pretty much it. I'm going to leave you guys with a little bit more gameplay of me fighting Anjanath wearing the brand new Glider Mantle. So if you guys want to see that in action, then this should give you a good idea as to what you can do with it. Of course, if you haven't entered the PS4 Pro giveaway, make sure you check out the link in the description box down below for a chance to win. And of course, keep it locked for plenty more Monster Hunter World coverage coming your way very, very soon. Thanks very much for watching. Take it easy. Catch you next time. Peace out.